We're back on body work on the Cobra. I've got a couple of issues that I've got to straighten out before we actually get to the meat and potatoes of block sanding and priming and doing all of that stuff. A little bit of fine tuning. You saw in the previous video I straightened up an area where I had an accidental hole that I had to fill. Straighten out the wheel arches, things like that. I've also got this issue. This is the driver's side louver vent area. And you can see this particular end here on the driver's side is a pretty severe thing. It actually mounts up pretty good because it looks nice and even, flat and everything else. But the problem is I've got an inconsistency with the passenger side. Again, see here, pretty sharp corner there. I will be rounding that off a little bit more, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. On the passenger side, it's a much more gentle arrangement, and this is a little bit uneven. So what I'm going to do, I won't have, that looks fine over there, this looks fine here, but it's easier to take away than to add material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this to make it a little bit more uniform with the other side, that way it looks good. The rest of it is fine. It's just this one right here, I'm going to have to sharpen that out. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to tape it off using this vinyl 1/4 inch tape, and as well I'm going to be using the barrel sander on my Dremel to actually get that nice and perfect. Shut off my air compressor to make this work. You can see there now this is much more of a sharp corner. This is nice and flat all the way around. I've got a little bit of work to do up here, which I will do that here in just a moment using the same tool. But this, compared over here, you can see it matches much more closely now. Of course, I've got some more fine tuning to do, but now they're more uniform. And now that is nice and consistent as well. So it looks like we're good to go here. A little more fine tuning there. Now we're getting ready. I'm going to go over the entire body with 320. The flat panels such as here, up here where it's relatively flat, back there where it's relatively flat, and on the nose here, I can use my DA because it's a relatively flat panel. Now the curvature of this area here on the fenders and on the back, I'm going to hand sand that. And my plan is to use 320 on this now. That way I can shoot another coat of primer on it and the next step be 400, or I shoot the primer on it, which allows pinholes to be, as you're seeing. If you recall, I did that on the 32 Ford. That way I can go forward, look for pinholes, use my spot putty to fill any pinholes that show up once the next primer job is done. And then of course, if I find any pinholes, I'll do that, sand it with 320 again, then come back with another prime job before going to 400. Let's get busy. Now next, I'm going to try to even this out. This is a little bit jagged. I'm going to try to smooth that out a little bit. Now that has a little bit better of a contour to it. It thickens here just a little bit, but that's fine. That will work. After a second look, I think I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. Yeah, that'll work right there. Getting a better read on this here. See, now it's got a lot better contour and closer matches this. I can sand this and fine tune it a little bit. I've got a little bit of an imperfection right there in the fiberglass. I don't really know what I'm going to do with that considering where it is. Now I've also got a little bit of an issue right here. I think that's something I'm going to have to fill if I can't sand it. All right, looking at this a little more closely, and I'm going to try to get my camera angle in here. These were low spots that you see where that is right there, but if you run your finger over it now, it's no longer a low spot. The arch is uniform all the way around. No divots, no low spots. I had quite a bit of work to do right here. There are some low spots. I did some shaping. This edge underneath is smooth now, all the way down to here. Let's see if I can get my camera in here. Bear with me. That's got a smooth edge to it now. That looks bad, but it's actually smooth. The wheel arch is pretty much there. Might have some fine tuning sanding to do, but the rough sanding is done on that one. Now, I've got 3 more wheel arches to give this same treatment. Second wheel arch, for the most part, is done. Again, this doesn't have to be 100% show perfect for a couple of reasons. One, this is a daily driver. This is going to be a driver car, not a show car. And two, simply put, Cobras were handmade cars back in the day, and they weren't perfect then. So I'm not going to waste too much time making the underside of these arches absolutely perfect when they're not going to be seen and they're going to get abused by rocks and everything when you're driving it anyway. But the main thing I wanted to do is make sure that it was uniform. The curves were uniform. You didn't have any huge divots under there. Back in the back here, I've got this one just about ready to go. It's a little bit flat right there. I've got a little bit more work there. I've got a little bit of a divot there. That's not a big deal. But all the way around, it's now smooth. Got maybe a touch more to do here. And forgive my work with the camera, because I've got a limited amount of space with this thing sitting on this stand like this. But it looks much better. It looks uniform. And again, these parts right here underneath aren't going to show because you got a big fat tire here. So I've got 3 of the 4 arches done. I've got a little bit of putty that I'm going to have to put right here. Let me see if I can get that to focus. You can barely see it, but that's a little bit of a pinhole right there. Coming around to the one I haven't worked on this round as of yet. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Is this one here. And again, all I've got to do is straighten these edges out. And I'll use that with my little 3.5 inch DA that I've got. These edges right here need to be straightened out and contoured. Other than that, it's pretty smooth. Okay, front wheel arches are roughed in, ready to go for the next round of primer. This wheel arch right here, ready to go all the way around with the exception of the filler I had, or the putty I had to put right here to fill that pinhole. That one's ready to go. Coming around to the other side, this one had a little bit more work to do. Had a bad spot right there I had to do. Had a spot right here I needed to do as well. Once those are done, I'll sand that down, and here, sand that down, and it'll be good to go. And we're going to wind this one up here. My wife just told me it's dinner time. Wheel arches are pretty much done with the exception of about 5 minutes of sanding on those 4 spots I had to put in putty. Once that's done, the wheel arches will be done, and then I can go in and start the 320 on the body itself, get this thing ready for primer. Once that 320 stage is done and the other stage is done, I'm going to park this car until the chassis gets back from the tuner, because what I'm going to then do is once I get the car back, I'm going to put the body on the chassis and elevate it up and really get to work on the body work there as far as the block sanding and stuff like that goes. But this rough in area stuff, doing the wheel arches, doing the holes for the vents, all of that stuff is easier done with a die level like this. So that's why I'm going to do this. But once I get it ready to block sand, I need it on a sturdy platform, because as you can see, this moves around quite a bit. Put it on the chassis, tape everything off that I don't want to get filthy, and go to town on it, and it should be good to go as far as doing the block sanding, starting to step up the grits until it's ready to paint. Once I get the 320 side done on this, which I'm going to start tomorrow or the next day in the next video, after that I'm going to get back and I'm going to go ahead and weld the cowl on to the 66 Mustang. Thanks for joining me. Stick around. We got more coming. If you like the content, hit like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Until the next time, see you then.